very good evening to you here. It's Thursday evening here in Kerry, and you're listening to the Waterbreak on all Kerry GAA social media channels. Coming to you in association with discoverkerry.com for all the best advice on holidays and staycation in Kerry. Now, this evening, of course, it's all about the Munster final. Were you at it? Were you watching it? Well, we have a little bit of snippets for you as well. But this evening, we will look back at it. We'll talk to Peter Keane. We'll talk to David Moran. We'll have a chat with Paudie Clifford as well. And we'll also reveal the minor panel of 2021, very eagerly awaited there across the county. We have Ambrose O'Donovan, remembering 1982. We have a bit of hurling, we have a bit of camogie, we have a bit of lace football. But first, let's look back at that brilliant performance on last Sunday when Kerry were crowned Munster champions for the 82nd time.
Linesman down there is Derek O'Mahony, who was the referee for the Cork Kerry match last year. Brian Hurley. Fancies another one. Has he got it? He has. Meehan goes.
Linesman
down there is Derek O'Mahony, who was the referee for the Cork Kerry match last year. Brian Hurley. Fancies another one. Has he got it? He has. Meehan goes down. Jack Barry was the one who made contact with him. Play continues. It's Brian Hurley taking on Jason Foley. Hurley trying to make an angle for himself, trying to squeeze it between the uprights, and he's managed it. Ian Maguire down as far as Hurley again. Brian Hurley cutting inside. It's a chance of a goal, maybe. He's got it. His 8th ever championship goal. Rory Dean, 2 against him, steps away from the first challenge. In as far as Brian Hurley. On his left this time, he can use right or left. Got forward with that ball to Sean O'Shea. Pouters on him. O'Shea turning inside and out. Hitting it with that left, confidently so, nicely over.
I'd be surprised if Tomas gave that much away.
Brian Hartnett. Luke Connolly. Kicking it with the right. Classical style, classical point as well. From Beaufort. Carried on here smartly now by Brian O'Biagli. Looking to put Kerry in front again. Good running ahead of him, Jack Barry. Something there for the taking. It's a goal! It is Kerry 1-12, Cork 1-7. Meanwhile, Seanie O'Shea is completely unmarked because of that brilliant long pass. Gainey waits for it, has it. Here's a chance, and he rolls it in under Mark White. David Clifford, in case of who wants to try and kick it over the bar. Maybe Stephen O'Brien, he hasn't scored so far. Jack Barry has, and Jack Barry finishes it off. Paul Murphy. Nicely down here as far as Paudie Clifford. Absolutely tormenting Cork this afternoon. And that finishes in the back of the net before we get to 25. Here we go, there is Gavin White. White, still going. And somehow it ends up in the net. Cork looking for a bit more respectability in terms of the score now at this stage. Brian Hurley fisting it in here. Is there a score with this attack? Somebody's going to take on the responsibility. It's the captain, Ian Maguire. Tyrone Monaghan. Gavin White. Oh, getting away from Keane. Kylie. Good transfer. Stephen O'Brien, little chip up and over the bar. He's got his point. David Clifford, who boots this one all the way down. Seanie O'Shea, one of the stars. There were quite a few. Tommy Walsh. And he fancies getting among the scorers as well. 4 goals and 22 points. Cork, 1 goal and 9.
And of course, Tommy Walsh, fantastic point to finish off. An absolutely fantastic performance for Kerry. After the game, of course, Peter Keane, he presented himself in front of the media, and these are his thoughts on the game.
Peter, your thoughts after the full-time whistle there, winning the Munster Championship?
I don't know, I suppose luck just probably did a little bit before that, but looked as great to win it. Winning the Munster Championship in a year when you've no safety net, it allows you to go out for an Ireland semi-final, and that's what we're looking forward to now.
What changed in that second quarter for you? What did you tactically do after the first quarter where Cork very much seemed to be on top?
Yeah, I think we were a bit sloppy. I think we had a few turnovers, and the turnovers cost us. Our tackling was poor. We were off the pace, and we needed to get to the pace. But we were confident. We were confident that our fitness would win out, and that we'd wear that game down. As it went on.
That second quarter, Peter, 1-8 to 2 points. It finished. That was the turning point.
It was, I suppose, and I suppose we continued that in the third quarter. It was a 3-2 to no score. So look, they were all they're all wanted. Every all point you can get, you'll take.
13 different scores, Peter. I mean, the variety that came from it today was a sight to behold.
Yeah, look, we had a good day today, and you know, the scoreboard turned nicely for us. You know, you go back to last year and the scoreboard didn't turn for us. You know, you take these days when they come.
First Munster final appearances for Paudie Clifford and Mike Breen. Peter, they've quickly turned into two leaders in this team. They feel like they've been there for longer than they've been there in the squad.
Well, I think we have a lot of leaders in the team. I think the two boys have done well, as have other fellas, as we've developed throughout the year. There's a great sense of unity. There's a huge work ethic in the team. Like I said, that maybe that work ethic was a bit off the pace early on in that first quarter. But look, one of the things we've done, we've pushed our fitness a lot this year, and I suppose, look, we felt that, you know, our fitness would hold out as the game went on against Cork.
Something that David Moran said just before you, Peter. He said it's the best squad unity, squad team spirit that he's had since his Kerry time in the Kerry senior jersey. What do you think has been the difference in 2021?
Well, that's good to hear, but I suppose, look, there's a huge sense of unity. It's something that, you know, when I got in 19, it's something we were working towards. And you know, we have a great group of people, we have a great back room, you know, and everybody is here and everybody wants to be here, and they're all working very, very hard.
Peter, how satisfying is it? You know, there's a huge expectation here in Kerry with the team and the panel and the management we have. How satisfying is it for you personally to Kerry go out and execute that display today?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose from a manager's point of view, you know, no different to yourself when you were working as a manager in the shop. In Super Value, you're always thinking about tomorrow. You're planning. You know, you don't have time to sit down and think about today. You're working about tomorrow, and for us at this moment in time, it's preparing for an Ireland semi-final in 3 weeks' time.
And of course, with Peter Keane, the only manager in Ireland that can throw in Super Value at the drop of a hat. I'm very excited, Peter Keane, I suppose, moving forward. Now, another very excited person at the end of the game was, of course, Paudie Clifford. And he was appearing in his first ever Munster final, and he was a deserved man of the match. And these are his views.
Paudie, congratulations. How did you turn that game around from the first quarter, do you think?
Just kept battling away, kept tipping away. Like the way Cork came out, we knew they were going to come out like that. But like Peter was adamant that maybe they wouldn't live with us fitness-wise, and maybe that was it. Maybe we just pushed on. Maybe we just kept pushing on and kept chipping away at the scores.
Just for your own sake, your own self, you tracked back out the field to get on the ball, Paudie, tried to get into that pocket as well. Is it just about kind of feeling the game as you go along as well and seeing what kind of pattern it takes?
Exactly, yeah. It's just, that's it. It's just feeling where's the space, where the other forwards are. We're just trying to play as a unit, and we're working hard in training, and it's obviously working.
Yeah, you mentioned the word unit. What a team performance when you got going. The likes of Tommy Walsh coming on doing the job as well, but there is great unity, and you can really see that from the hunt for breaking ball and primary possession. Would you go along with that, Paudie?
Definitely, yeah. Like the unity, like the standard of training, everything is just seems to be clicking so far. Obviously we have to keep it going. We're nowhere near there yet, but yeah, there's a great buzz in training and the unity, as you said.
Just the last question for you. I know there's a road to go for you guys yet, so you won't be getting too carried away, but I saw you playing for the Kerry Juniors a few years ago, and to be here on a day like this is very, very special. How much does it mean, and how much hard work did you have to put in to get to this level?
A lot of hard work, a lot of days in the gym, a lot of days out kicking. But the Kerry Juniors is a great stepping stone for players. There's a lot of Kerry players playing today that came up from the Kerry Juniors.
Did you ever doubt your day would come?
Maybe. But yeah, I did maybe, yeah.
Right, well anyway, you've got a second man of the match award in quick succession. You're the year man of the match, Paudie. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Well, whatever doubts Paudie Clifford might have had about today, he is coming. He certainly has no doubt about being in the first 15 next time around in the All-Ireland semi-final. Now, another man who had an outstanding performance on the day was David Moran, and he also spoke to the media after the match, and he had a particular view on the 3-week wait.
Pretty convincing display, and everything seemed to have go well for Kerry this afternoon.
Yeah, we'd be very happy with 3 quarters of it. Obviously the first quarter would have been very disappointed. We knew the first water break that you know things didn't go to plan, but I suppose we did come in knowing that, look, obviously we wanted to start like we finished, but it mightn't happen. You know, so look, thankfully we got there in the end.
David, can I just ask, how much did last November play a role in Kerry's
preparations into this game?
Look, it was definitely something on our minds, but I don't think you're going to win a Munster Championship by having that. I'm sure they had their own disappointment after the Tipperary game. Look, it was something that we might have drawn, but you're going to draw on anything that you think will give you an edge. I think it played a factor, but I think that if we had beaten them last year and we came out here and we were playing in Killarney, Cork and Killarney Munster final, I think we would have been just as tuned in.
You seem to be getting more confident with every game you play. There's consistency to what you're scoring and what you're consistent. You do seem to be growing with every game you play.
Yeah, I suppose we would have conceded a lot in the first half compared to the other games. But yeah, up front the lads are going well. There's plenty of competition. The spirit in the camp is very good. And I suppose you can't beat winning, and that's what we've been doing so far. But look, we're just into a semi-final now, something we're looking forward to.
David, you've 3 weeks now for that semi-final. You played those champions with only 2 weeks. Given that the games have been coming thick and fast since you got back, is that extra week going to be useful and having a look at the Ulster final?
I don't know if I had a choice. For 2 weeks. 2 weeks I think is absolutely ideal. 4 weeks is the worst in the world. You're playing in half a week, maybe 3/4 a week recovering, and then you're absolutely flying in for 3 or 4 sessions and you're back in. It's perfect timing. 3 weeks you might have a little bit longer. If I had a choice, I'd nearly pick 2. We had 2 coming into the last 2 games, which suited us well. So, maybe in old school thinking that the more time you have the better, but as a player it's a disaster.
From your own point of view, David, you're after putting in 70, 80 plus minutes. Are you happy now with your own form and fitness at the moment? It's coming along nicely.
If Peter comes out there, tell him to keep me going like that. As I said, look, the squad, the team spirit in the squad. I'm not sure I've been part of a team with such squad, ethos. Some fellas come in, some fellas start. I got taken off plenty of games this year and I wasn't given out. Jack came off today, he could have stayed on. I think the team is kind of bigger than that at the moment, but personally I'm delighted obviously to get the win, whatever.
Where has that come from? That sort of, you said you've been involved in a number of panels, you have your 2 All-Ireland medals, but where does it come from, management or this group that you've been?
I think it's just a close-knit squad. I suppose winning doesn't, winning helps too. I know we lost last year, but we had a good run in the league, we had a good run in the championship the year before, we had a good run in the league this year, and that helps. But I don't know where it is. Fellas seem to just get on. I suppose it's a young squad. Fellas are coming in together. I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from, but it's good so far.
How impressed have you been, David, with the likes of Paudie, Clifford and Mike Bree, and 2 new players this year who've really, really stepped up to the plate? It's like they've been there for years.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal. They've showed massive leadership. They've been very calm. They're playing to a very high level, but the reality of life is they're going to be judged from here on in. That's
in the first quarter, they changed the tactic of the kickouts. They went up in a 13-man kickout in the Cork half, enforcing one now.
What's that, sorry?
What was the change at the first Waterbreak? They enforced a 13-man full court press kickout.
They probably didn't have too many kickouts in the first quarter. They were well on top. I think that was just something we were going to try and push on and try and get it out, and I think we did quite well.
Perfect.
Now, the Kerry minor footballers are in action tomorrow evening as they take on Cork in the electric Ireland Munster football semi-final, having gone so close only a fortnight ago to the All-Ireland final of 2020. James Costello is certainly no man for hanging around because he has his new brood out tomorrow evening. And I caught up with James earlier in the week and asked him for his thoughts on the game.
So James, after such a long wait, are you excited to get going?
Yeah, Donald, very excited to be heading down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, probably the best stadium in the country at the moment. Cork GAA is on the up, as we all know. So these guys are looking forward to starting their adventure in a Kerry jersey in the next week or so.
James, it is probably a traditional thing in Kerry football that the minor panel certainly is drawn from all over the county. An awful lot of North Kerry players though on your panel, 7 I think in fact.
I would describe them as a real Kerry team. Lots of skillful footballers. They like the ball moving fast. The dry ground and the hard pitch will suit them. They have a great attitude and we have a great spread from within the county, which is interesting. Our liaison officer, Christy Keane, is on a committee to sort out North Kerry football. I told him we've it done already because I think we've 7 lads from North Kerry in the squad, which is great to see, and less from traditional strong areas like Tralee and West Kerry. So it's good to see the spread of players from different clubs as well.
How difficult, James, has it been to assess players, particularly in the absence of school games?
Yeah, it has been difficult, I suppose, to get the lads together because the school games, I'm a big believer in the quality and tempo of school games, and we haven't had school games to assess lads or development squads. So, potentially there's a few fellas that might have slipped through the loop. We're trying to keep an eye on games that are going on at the moment. But we've a talented group together, great attitude, and really looking forward to heading down to Cork.
And of course, Kilcummin's Dara O'Callaghan is the captain 2 years in a row, actually, as a minor. That's unique enough, certainly this age group.
Yeah, Dara Callahan, I suppose, is our captain for the year. Dara's a very level-headed lad. Any player to be a 2-year full-back on a Kerry minor team, I think in a pressurised position like that, it says a lot about his temperament more than anything, as well as his ability. Proud day for him and his family and his club. And my big thing is, I suppose, that the captaincy has to sit easy on his shoulders, and that Dara's a very level-headed lad.
Have you any injury concerns heading into the game? Any lads likely not to make the match day setup?
Unfortunately, coming up to the game, I suppose we'll be without Robert Stack from Bale, Aidan O'Neill from Renard, and Keele Doyle from Fossa, who are struggling with injuries. But we still are very happy with the squad that we've assembled.
James, it couldn't have been easy to keep two teams on the road at one time. So how have preparations been for the class of 2021?
Preparations have gone well. We've played a number of challenge games and they've been a good guide for us, I suppose. Cork have the advantage of playing a championship game, albeit this Waterford were unable to put up much of a challenge to them. So it'll be great to go down there. The lads are ready to go. All the heavy work has been done and it's just about sharpening them up now and hoping we get a good performance on the day.
Now, earlier in the week, of course, confirmation came through that Kilcummin's Dara O'Callaghan was going to be the team captain, and certainly it was going to be a very busy week for him because he was also named as one of the 4 Electric Ireland Team Players of the Year on the 2020 team. In all, Kerry had 4 players in that team. And we can take a look at that team now, which included, of course, 6 of the All-Ireland winners from Derry. In the goal, of course, Keane McGonigal of Derry. Liam Kelly got in a cornerback for Meath. Lee Brady was the fullback from Derry. Dara O'Callaghan there at 4. 5, of course, was Kerry's captain, Oisin Mounsell. And a centre-back line that included Owen McAvoy of Derry and Cathal Ryan from Offaly. A very good week for Offaly, of course. Midfield was Conor Eccles of Monaghan and Paudie O'Leary from Guineguilla. He snatched the number 9 jersey. In the half-forward line, there was Mark Doherty and Matthew Downey of Derry, along with Kerry's 4th nominee, which was Keith Evans of Keele, of course. And the full forward line, Conor Hand, the man that Kerry knew well, of course, from the Roscommon. And you had Lachlan Murray and you had the Meath player Darren Frayne at the end as well in 15th place. Now, Kerry, of course, had 4 of their own players on it, and we'll take a quick look at those, of course, in greater detail. And as I said, what a week it was for Kilcummin's Dara O'Callaghan. He was picked at 4. And basically from the first whistle against Cork to the final one against Derry, O'Callaghan was given the task really of marking and limiting the impact of opposition dangermen. And he certainly carried out this role with little fuss and indeed plenty of success. Young enough once again for this year's Kerry minor team. He's been given the captaincy and I can tell you we can expect plenty more from him. Now at number 5 was Kerry's captain, fantastic Oisin Mounsell, the Nagale man who plays his hurling, of course, with Abbeydorney, showed huge versatility and leadership over the course of the championship. As comfortable at midfield as well as operating on the half-back line, Mounsell certainly wasn't shy to score the odd, wonderful point from distance either. Picking up the number 9 slot, of course, was a proud moment for the O'Leary family from Guineguilla as Paudie picked it up. And he started the campaign, of course, at wing-back, but he switched with Mounsell for the All-Ireland series, gave Kerry certainly an extra dimension around the middle of the field. His great work rate, his ability to chase down attackers, and even pop up with the odd score certainly marks O'Leary out as someone who will have a big future in the green and gold. And of course, he follows on the family tradition with his uncle Sean Og, having played Kerry minor in 1986. And of course, Sean Og played with a certain guy called Maurice Fitzgerald, and we wonder whatever happened to him. Now, at number 12, Keith Evans from Keele, he picked up the 12th jersey and the team of the league. The Keele man, he had an eye-catching 1-5 from playing the semi-final win over Roscommon, building on a great display, of course, in the Munster final win over Clare, in which he scored 1-2. And Evans follows a rich supply of talent from the Keele club, which has seen in the past the likes of Gary Sayers, Brian Ladden, Aaron Cahalan, and Liam Sheehan, among others, to represent the grade. Now, you might have heard James Costello allude there in his interview about the impressive selection of North Kerry players. And indeed, we decided we will reveal the panel here this evening for you, and we will draw it up and we will take a look at who's on the 2021 panel for the Kerry footballers. So there we have, of course, Darragh O'Callaghan from Kilcommon, Kieran Mackesy, Finuig, Eddie McCarthy, Churchill, Dylan Roach of Glenflesk, Jack Clifford of St. Michael's Filemore, Mikey Moriarty from Beaufort, Ryan Diggin, Lone Rangers, Raymond O'Neill, Corrow, Cormac Kennedy, Lisbole, Sean O'Connor, Nagale, Robert Monaghan from Ardfert, Cormac Dillon from Duwa, Adam Siegel from Ballyduff, Mike Dinnehy of Rathmore, Jack Doyle of Nagale, Jack O'Keefe, Myvan, Aidan O'Neill, of course, from Menard, Owen Hassett from Lone Rangers, Jack O'Donoghue from Glenflesk, Keane Lynch, of course, Glenflesk, Luke Crowley, Glenflesk, Aidan Crowley from Temple Charlie Keating of the Dr. Oaks Club, Shane Evans from Keele, Rian Colleran of Fossa, Donald Daly of Ballymackelliget, a very famous Kerry name, of course, Darragh O'Connor from Kieran Rory O'Mahony from St. Senans, Dara Conway from Finuig, John Keller of Glenflesk, Liam Evans of Keele, Cathal Brosnan of Corrow, and Robert Stack of Bale. And that is the Kerry minor football panel of 2021, and we certainly wish them all the very best luck as they head off to Cork tomorrow evening and facing a very, very fancy Cork team. Now, back in 1984, and still just 21 years of age, Ambrose O'Donovan, of course, another Guinea-Gwilla man, he played midfield, and he was handed the captaincy, of course, very young man inside in a big team. And we decided we'd catch up with Ambrose and ask him what it was like in 1984 to step into a dressing room full of legends and full of his heroes. This is we're looking at very, very quiet Fitzgerald Stadium in the background. Of course, we're looking back to 1984, Ambrose. What was it like for a young Guinea-Gwilla man inside the dressing room ahead of the game starting back in 1984?
Well, I suppose towards fear of God, worried about, sleepless nights, particularly the week running up to it and all that. But yeah, you have to say that there's a fierce, great thing about the stress coming on. Munster final, the stress was packed in 84. Real warm day, probably same as today now. Real warm, hot, humid day, massive Cork support down. Cork were coming down, they fancied their chances. They'd beaten us above in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in 83, last minute goal from Tadhg Murphy. Kerry lost the 5 in a row, a lot of pressure. Centenary was mentioned, first time I've heard it being mentioned, was mentioned in the run-up to the game. This is the Centenary final, this is the Munster final in Killarney Centenary final, and we're not going to lose this by a point or by a last minute goal. And I think there was a bit of passion. The training was tough, and we trained very hard, in fairness, under Mick O'Dwyer. We've done a lot of work, but you would have to say one thing, that the camaraderie of the team, and I suppose the fear of defeat was a big thing as well, a huge thing for Kerry that time, because as I said, 82 and 83, 84 here, and I've seen fellas breathe a sigh of relief inside the dressing room after. Fellas, I looked up to my heroes. I suppose I wasn't even 22 at the time, but I was looking at fellas, Bomber and Ogie, Johnny Walsh, P.O. God rest him, Tim Kennedy was around the team that time. It meant an awful lot to those guys. So 84, and I suppose it drove on. I always loved Kerry, and there's a fierce passion for Kerry, of course. But I mean, at that time, to see these fellas, we were kind of, there was an odd tear being dropped coming down here after the match. I'd gone up collecting the cup, and certainly relief, and it's pride. There's big pride in the Munster final. As I said, Cork come down, fancied themselves enough coming down, but we put in the way we worked very hard as well, which was fantastic, absolutely.
And of course that win spurred you on to the semi-final against Galway. Of course, it was a different game, of course, came through that, and then obviously the Dublin scoring. Going back to the Cork game, they were the only side that scored 2 goals that year only. They were the only side to score any goal on me, actually. And of course it was a Cork team with Denny Allen, Dave Barry, Coleman, Corrigan, Jimmy Kerrigan. They're real big names even today. So Cork at that stage were a good team.
Oh yeah, and I mean, Cork coming down that time were fancying themselves coming down. They won, and would tell you, and had no bones about it, they preferred to play in Killarney than Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But what they didn't realise was we didn't care about the Páirc Uí Chaoimh either. That time I suppose it was, you were talking about, there were 2 big teams, and you got over a Munster final, you were looking at an All-Ireland final, and that's the way we looked at it, and Cork were no different to us. But that day in particular, in 84, they came down, yeah, you're dead right, Fahy was in midfield from that day. They were a strong team. You know, they were good footballers, and like you said, household names, and they went on to prove how good they were because they all went on to win All-Ireland medals after. But that made it. But it was fierce competitive. I remember the first 20 minutes of this. You know, the actual, my lips dried out. Would you believe it? Never before happened, or didn't happen since. My lips went dry. The dust off the pitch here. It was a real warm day. The tar was boiling coming up. But really, it was and the first 20 minutes, I remember the ferocity of it, the pace of it. The way that driven into us, we needed to get out of the blocks quick. We needed to make stamp your manager. We were getting to know for that, and you certainly want wish him well and wish him happy birthday. How was his mother getting on? You were taking first hit and get the first hit in. And it was competitive.
Yeah, and of course, I suppose we say a young 22-year-old Unique men going up collecting the cup. I suppose that was kind of a proud moment, obviously. But I mean, I suppose, what did it feel? Or maybe, like you said, you had no fear at all in doing it.
Well, I remember one man, you know, P.O. and like he gave me great advice, God rest his soul. And of course, the one thing he always said, Joe, whatever you do, he said, when you accept the cup, but a spatter of Irish. And I was looking at him and said, what's spatter of Irish? And he said, speak a few words of Irish. He said, well, that's what we'll, and think of the people in the West. And you know, but that day in particular, I remember going up and I'd seen, particularly two fellas in my own club, Chairman Brendan Kelly, God rest him, and Brendan Crowley, and both of them, there was tears in their eyes. And I said to myself, I suppose I was too young, but this meant so much. And I took the cup to Guinea with it that night, and it was absolutely brilliant. There was bonfires burning, you know, and it dawned on me like this thing really is big. There's other people, as I said about, I stopped in Spa, there were bonfires there, and all the road out Blanky coming into Guinea with bonfires blazing. Yeah, then it kind of dawned on me, this is something special, this is something you've got to remember, and it's something I won't ever forget.
And of course, you're still on the centre field, a little bit further up now than you used to be. What's it like to look at games now and look at the next crop of players coming through? I mean, obviously you're getting a great view here in David Fitzgerald Stadium, nice side, Kerry just after winning a fairly handy Munster final, I suppose, 22 points, it doesn't lie. What's it like to take the side of the camera?
I love it. I love it. And actually, the way I love it, I've watched the way some of these fellas have developed, in particular Paudie Clifford. Paudie was in the shadow of David. That's not the case anymore. Paudie's playing fabulous football. Might bring both up. I watched him as minor. I've done the minor again as well. And to see him coming in, Killian Spillane's coming in, all these just coming back. I've watched them all playing minor, I've watched them all playing under 20. Now they're coming on to senior. And that's the way it's supposed to evolve. And fair play to Kerry. And whatever that are, we're all critical of management and what that in Kerry. But the one thing we have is we have that conveyor belt, and it's still very much alive in Kerry. And that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it has to be if we're going to get back to win All-Ireland.
And of course, that was Ambrose O'Donovan there, remembering 1984. And of course, Ambrose is up to date with all the matches because he's on Radio Kerry and gives a great insight to games. But it was actually nice to interview Ambrose as well. Now, Ambrose, of course, played midfield with another man from Carsevine, Jack O'Shea. Ambrose said he used to mind him. So we're going to look at Jack O'Shea's best bits from the archives. So sit back and enjoy 3.5 minutes of one of the greatest footballers that ever came out of Kerry.
Jack O'Shea, and Kerry lead again as Jack O'Shea sends that one over. A passing movement and Jack finishing it, and over, and Kerry are the All-Ireland champions. Kerry are champions by 3 points for the 26th time in their history. Egan across to the far side of the field, Mikey Sheehan, in it goes now, and a goal! The first score in the first goal of the game, Jack O'Shea the scorer. And there goes the final whistle, and Kerry have done it. Kerry have won 4 All-Irelands in a row. I'd love to know how much ground Jacko covers between the time a game starts and a game finishes. 1 minute he's in the middle of the field, the next he's up front, and the next he's back in defence.
Vincent O'Connor knocks it down to Dennis Moran. Dennis Moran inside to Jack O'Shea. Jack O'Shea is clear. He's got Michael Creedon at his mercy. And it's the captain, Jack O'Shea, to take it. And Jacko gets that score. Ogie Moran. Jack O'Shea is about 35 metres out.
And this is John Egan taking a a lovely tip pass there by the Bomber. And a kick over the bar by Jack O'Shea. Here comes Kerry again, on Liston, out to Jack O'Shea. John Egan has moved up onto the right, but Jack says he'd take a shot himself and sends it over the bar. Another point for Jack O'Shea, another point for Kerry.
Timmy down there beside him. It was a trip attempt, free to Kerry, quickly taken. Jack O'Shea looking for Kerry's first score and getting it for the second half. 9 points for Kerry, 4 for Cork.
That's Milan once more into Jack O'Shea. Jack kicking, and a point for Kerry by Jack.
Jack O'Shea racing forward from the half-back line, swinging over another beautiful point from Jack O'Shea.
The loose ball this time, trying to find him and McEnany. Back again to Jack O'Shea. And the lead for Kerry from Jack O'Shea.
Towards Owen Liston, who's won the first ball with Jerry Hargan. This is Jack O'Shea, angling for the opening score, and Jack O'Shea puts Kerry ahead. The penalty is entrusted to Jack O'Shea. Penalties have played an important part in All-Ireland finals. John O'Leary waits, Jack O'Shea scores! Again they aim it for Owen Liston. Again he finds a loose man. Again it's Jack O'Shea. And again it's a point. So a goal and 3 points this man has contributed to. He's having a marvellous afternoon, encouraging his defenders. And Kerry have won the All-Ireland final. Champions for the 29th time.
Take your time, it's only me. We got lives to lead. Where we'll go, I do not know. Make it slow, make it slow. Who believes in making dreams? Who believes in life?
We're here in Killarney today to launch Win a House. You can win a house through the Kerry GAA with a simple raffle. We want to sell tickets valued at €100, and I suppose the key thing here is we're all after going through a very, very long year, a tough year through COVID, and we need to fundraise, and teams and local clubs and counties are fundraising in their own general way. And here in Kerry, we are in beautiful Killarney looking out over the lakes, and we're raffling a house down in the middle of Killarney, one of the nicest areas in the whole country, not even in the whole country, but all of Europe. The great thing about Kerry is that not only have we beautiful scenery, we've had great footballers, and I've had great days in the Kerry jersey. And we're all here today to try to help and try to support our young fellas, not only the Kerry senior football teams, not only the inter-county teams, but the young lads that are coming up playing with their clubs at the moment. We want to put in proper facilities for them and ensure that their future is looked after. To do this, we have to become a little bit more imaginative, and we have a house for a draw. Kerry people are all over the world. We're in London, New York, all over Asia, Australia, everywhere. Anybody can take part, and we'll be looking for everybody to contribute in some small way. It's only €100. It's going to go a long way to helping Kerry to stay up with the pace of the modern GAA world, and I hope you all do get involved.
And you are, of course, very welcome back to the Waterbreak here on all Kerry GAA's social media channels in association with discoverkerry.com, our great sponsors. Now we're turning, of course, to hurling, and the first senior club competition came to its conclusion on Saturday evening. Of course, it was the Credit Union County League Division 1 final. And of course, there was no leagues, of course, played last season due to COVID. And in the end, it was the winners from 2019, Causeway, that retained their title, of course, in fine style with a 5-16 to 1-6 win over Abbeydorney. Now, 2 first half goals by Brian Murphy and man the match Jason Leahy gave the winners a 2-5 to 3 point lead at the break. And we can watch Leahy's first goal effort there, and he clips it in fantastic. And that, of course, sent him to the break at 2-5 to 3 points. Now, having struggled to score in the last quarter of the opening half, Abbeydorney through James O'Connor were on the board first within a minute of the resumption, of course. However, it was Causeway. They'd seize the initiative and they'd scored the next set 3-7 without reply, with further goals, of course, from Brian Murphy. Jason Leahy got his second as well, and Colm Harty was on the score sheet for Causeway as well. Now, a late goal by Abbeydorney's Brian O'Leary. He put a bit more gloss on the scoreboard at the end. But after the game, I caught up with winning captain Colm Harty, a delighted winning manager in Stephen Goggin. But first, we spoke to man of the match, Jason Leahy.
Jason, that second goal was some cracker. Did you practice that?
No, probably just came off today. I was lucky enough. Ball just came in and it just kind of went off instant more than anything else. Lucky enough, I suppose. Another time mightn't come off, but thankfully it came off today.
It was a great team performance, 5 goals. I mean, at the end, I suppose there was no doubt that you're certainly worthy winners. It's hard to know coming into a league final how games play out. I presume you didn't probably expect the way that the game went.
Yeah, to be fair, now we're delighted with the performance. We got a good score as well, put up 5-16, I think. And as you said, it was team performance, like the lads coming in off the bench. I think Colm came in off the bench, he got 1-2. Sean came in off the bench, got a point or two. Brian got chipped in with a few scores by Murphy. So there's good spread of scores across the team as well, and Billy was good in the frees. So as you said, it was a great team performance.
And this sets you up nicely for obviously the championship.
Yeah, of course, the championship is, it's everything really in Kerry. We'll put this to bed now. It's all over after tonight, and just focus on next week and focus on September next week.
Yeah, Jason, thank you very much.
Cheers,
Congratulations.
thanks.
Now, joining us, winning captain. The last time it was won was 2019. It's going home. You didn't give it away for too long.
No, I suppose unfortunately it wasn't ran last year, but again, like I said earlier, great competition was ran this year with 2 groups, and it's great to see new teams involved as well. So hopefully the games will stand tall teams going into the championship.
You have to be proud of the performance, really. I mean, 5 goals. I mean, towards the end, it seemed because we were even getting stronger. The play was opening up. You seemed incredibly fit.
No, it was tit for tat there for all the way. Maybe towards the end, it kind of opened up right. But look, hopefully the game is sent to both teams. It's great to get run out lost in Saxford next week anyway. So.
And of course, this will bring you on nice and ready for a championship. You have a good squad. They're all back, eager to win, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, and it's we're in a tough group, so Harford and Abbeydorney, they're going to be tough games. So then hopefully this game will stand to us.
And Stephen, I suppose any day that you score 5-16, you have to be absolutely delighted, particularly in the final.
Yeah, took us a bit to get going, and once we got going, we kind of got into a rhythm, and we're happy enough with it. It's a nice way to finish off the competition after being unbeaten in it. It was nice to finish tonight and win the competition,
And it was a very good competition, the way it was broken and ready in the amount of games that you played. It's a nice leader into a championship as such.
Yeah, it is the thing. I suppose with COVID and everything, it's hard. Your county players. This is the first night of the county players playing, and for both teams. And ideally you want them playing as much matches as they can, but it's just too unfortunate they can't. But they ran it. The competition ran great. There was no games called off for nothing. Everyone played, and look. Our thing at the start of it was that if the county team were playing, then we needed to play games without the county team in, because the rest of them need hurling as well. So, and that's the way it worked out. Look, and a lot of fellas didn't come on tonight that probably got us to the final, and they should be proud of the achievement as well,
And I suppose when you talk about county players, I mean, obviously the Springfield players came back, they had a huge impact. That whole half forward line, I mean, it was a massive score they put up between themselves.
Yeah, played well. I suppose you were bringing Jason and Evan and Brian and Sean Sheehan into it, they're all good hurlers, they only can improve your team, and the few boys, there's a couple more of them, they're coming back from injury, so tonight was our first game out, so look, we're not too bad. Hopefully that we have no injuries now after tonight. And look, I suppose the big thing is next week. Tonight is just, at the end of the day, it is the league and it's over and done with. And everyone gets ready for championship, and it'll be totally different next week against Stafford. It'll be a tough game again.
And of course, the final question, I suppose, championship now obviously is the motivator. It's the only competition that's left to win. Causeway so close last year, having tasted victory the year before. Obviously, it is still in the nostrils to get a victory.
Oh, it is like last year's going to be sour. We're still sour over it. The way that we performed, I suppose, the biggest thing. But we're not thinking past Stafford next Saturday night. In fairness, that they're a good championship team and they're going to be tough, and if our heads are not right, they're going to turn us over. So you have to take game by game, and we kind of treated tonight was a kind of preliminary round to the championship, and that we pushed on. We said we've 3 hard weeks coming up with 3 tough teams. So look, Stafford is next on the list, and we'll see how we get on against them.
And now we turn, of course, to Camogie. The Kerry senior Camogie ladies were out at the weekend in Lixnad. They're playing the first intermediate championship game, and they started with a good win, Diarmuid.
Yeah, Donald, a fantastic win, 111 to 11 points against a very strong Tipperary outfit. And, this is the Tipperary team that ended up winning the Munster Intermediate Championship. Kerry, of course, went down to the juniors this year. And, to go from Intermediate League to Junior Championship in Munster and then go back into the Intermediate straight away against a very experienced Tipperary team isn't easy for any side. Add the weather on Saturday, it was an absolute scorcher. And you could see that after the game, the girls were fairly leggy after it, and Ian had to go to the bench earlier than he'd normally would, and he had to bring off the likes of Aoife Behan, who wouldn't really come off in a tight game as it was. She's very experienced in the centre field, and it was one of those games where Kerry, they looked strong, but at the same time their wide count for the game was not favourable. Before, I think just after the water break, they had, I think, 12 shots on target, and only 3 of them ended up going over the bar. And Tipperary scored 2 from 4. And I think at the end of the game, they had maybe 12 or 13 wides. And in a championship game that you only win by 3, to have 12 wides is not favourable for any side. And I know Ian after the game spoke to us, and he was saying that, he was happy with the results. After the game, he was thrilled. He was going around. He was giving them all the pat in the back and saying, well done, that was phenomenal. But at the same time, he knew that there was room for improvement. And hopefully now, looking into the Derry game coming up on the Saturday, that he can put that into practice.
Well, of course, we'll go back to the game itself, so we'll look ahead in a few minutes. It was going to turn on a goal. It was a real tight game all the way through. Kerry, I suppose, done the more, the team that looked like to win it more true, but it still needed a goal, and a goal from a very familiar player.
Yeah, Jackie Horgan got the goal in the end. A fantastic pass by Patrice. I have to applaud at her. It was an inch perfect pass on the right hand, the far touchline from where we were sitting inside in the main stand, and it just played perfectly into Jackie. Jumped up, managed to catch it straight out of the air, turn her marker, and put it into the back of the net. And she had another chance a few minutes later, but I don't think the shot worked for her. It went straight toward the keeper. It was a very routine save for the Tipperary netminder. And Jackie is the main goal getter for the Kerry team. When she's in that full forward role, she has that ability that when you get the ball into the air, she is naturally able to do it. And then you have Caoimhe Spillane and Amy O'Sullivan, who didn't start the game. Breed Horton started instead of her. Amy was playing in a minor match on the Sunday, and Ian was he had her rested for the first half, and then he decided to bring her on, I suppose, shortly after the restart, about 2 minutes before they got the goal. And her pace provided with Caoimhe's is great for when Jackie might come out to more of a centre forward role. But she's no stranger to getting goals. She's got a few already in this championship year, and Ian will obviously know that she is a danger when put in front of the target.
And of course, you're talking about Ian there. Of course, Ian spoke to the media after the game, and we actually have that clip there now of Ian Brick, the winning manager.
Right, Ian, listen, although heat, that was hot, it was a close finish, great display. Your overall impression on how they played and the importance of the win?
I suppose, first of all, the result is the all-important thing.
performance-wise, I suppose there's definitely room for improvement, but it is all about the result. Like you say, it didn't start the best. We would have hoped, I suppose, to be on top of a team who would travel 2 hours down the road, I suppose, in very warm conditions in a bus. But look, Tipperary are a good side. They beat a very, very good Cork intermediate side a couple of weeks ago. And like the difference for them to have played the likes of Derry and Cork a couple of weeks ago to maybe us playing in the Munster Junior Championship, it's a big step up. And maybe that's why it took us a little bit longer than we would have wanted to get to the pace of the game. And before I forget it, I want to compliment the Lixnair Hurling Club for offering their facilities and having a fantastic condition as well. But yeah, we're absolutely delighted with the result. I suppose it's another kind of a test again for the girls. Questions were asked of them when Tipperary came back into the game, when we weren't playing well, and they drew level. And then I think that Jackie got the goal and he gave us another boost again for another 10 minutes or so. And I just thought about that the subs who came on made a big difference as well. And it's just very positive, I suppose, for the whole squad.
And your defence, obviously you had your homework done, and the likes of Ginny Grace and the Maher girl at full forward and the number 10 were very, very good. But none of you girls flinched an inch. They really got stuck in. I thought their intensity after that nervous opening period was unreal.
Yeah, and I suppose what you would say is that for years, I suppose Kerry Camogie has been built on a really solid defence, and we were still talking about the same 6 or 7 girls there, to be fair to them. But yeah, we had the matchups done. They don't always work right, but the girls were extremely good today. I don't know, we conceded very few from play today, so it's testament to how hard they worked and how disciplined I suppose they were as well, because only conceded 11 points is great going forward. Again, look, it's just the 2 points on the board. It gives us that bit of positivity going forward to next week again, now preparing for Derry. But I suppose again, it's the character of the team, I suppose, from 1 to 15, 1 to 18 was more encouraging, I suppose, really. That the girls up front fought for every ball as well. And Tip's defence found it very hard to make clearances as well. So overall, very encouraging.
And the younger girls, Kate Lynch at midfield, she's maturing unbelievable into some player with pace. And then you have Kiva Spillane, and you brought on Amy Sullivan, I know she's commitments tomorrow, and Stacey Leahy. And they all played huge parts in this game because they had legs at the end when maybe, some of the older girls will be feeling the pinch.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it's about. It's about trying to progress Kerry Camogie, and obviously everybody's well aware of the hard work that's been done behind the scenes and at juvenile level. And like to have the crowd here today and the roar and the cheering is hugely encouraging for those girls. The announcer, fair enough, this is part, I suppose, yeah. But for everybody to feel part of that, and the girls to want to be part of that is very encouraging.
And turning to next week, I think it's important. Derry had a big win today, so they're down here. 2 wins would seem to get us into the next stage, and I presume that's your main aim, to get to the next stage of this competition.
Yeah, it would be to make progress from last year again, because we were obviously very disappointed with losing to Laois last year, but then again we were very disappointed to have lost out in scoring difference in the league as well. So look, we're just going to take one game at a time. We don't know what's going to happen with the other teams. Like I said, Derry are going to be a different level again, I think, but the girls are going to learn so much from today's game. Hopefully, I don't think there are too many knocks. I think I'm looking forward. They're all going to be looking forward to the training during the week.
Of course, that was Ian Brick, of course, giving his views to the media afterwards. We spoke about a very important goal. There was a very important save as well by Aoife Fitzgerald at a stage of the game as well. A very confident keeper, and somebody who certainly keeps her full back line in tow for most of these games. Very vital as well.
Yeah, Donal, Aoife is very cool and composed under pressure. She's no stranger to being able to come out under difficult scenarios and either pick the ball up straight into her hands or have it onto the hurl and be able to clear it straight away. There was 2 incidents where it might have been, are you going to come and get it, or am I going to come and get it, that kind of a thing. And there was one that it ended up going behind her, but thankfully she swung the hurley across and managed to clear it off the line just in time. But you're talking about the goalkeeper at the back being the strong subject as well. And you've Niamh Lean, who's just in front of her as a full back. And Niamh Lean was calm and composed as well, and an absolute formidable full back for Kerry. And without Michelle Costello at corner back, Kerry had to put Rachel McCarthy, who's more of a forward, in back there. But at the same time, when Niamh is back there, everything seems to be more like a free-flowing unit. She's kind of the person who barks the orders, but as well as, you know, if you were to put your money on someone to keep Kerry calm and composed at the back and make sure that there's no issues or errors, you can always count on Evelyn. She's an absolute colossus back there for the Kerry team.
Absolutely. So 2 points on the board, Diarmuid. Next up is Derry at home, I think.
Yeah, next up is Derry in Lixnaw on Saturday. It looks like it's going to be a 2 p.m. throw-in just because of Derry having to come down here and with the travel and everything. Derry looked to be the strongest team in our group. They had a 119 to 10 point win over Laois on Saturday. Laois, of course, was the team who broke our hearts last year in the championship, and that Derry team they're definitely going to be formidable. But Ian, after the game, when Ian was doing his pre-match or post-match talk with the girls in the huddle, he said, like, you know, this is your home now for Camogie in the county. This is, you know, Lixnaw GAA is where we're going to be playing our games. And after the defeat at Tipperary, it was like, you know, this is your battleground now. This is where every team who's going to come down here is going to know that this is a formidable place to come and try and get a victory against this Kerry side. They haven't lost a game so far this year in Lixnaw. So, you know, Derry are a tough team, but when they come down here, will they be able to get the results is going to be the question. Ian is going to have it drilled into them during training this week. I'm sure he's going to be watching over the footage from last week and, you know, the sloppy turnovers, the first touches that didn't go their way, the wide count, because against a team like Derry, I don't think you're going to be able to make those mistakes.
Absolutely. And of course, talking about Derry, of course, their Ulster team, Down, of course, played Kerry in the Kerry Minors there this weekend. How that game end, Diarmuid?
It was a draw, Donal. So, you know, the minors, as I mentioned, Amy O'Sullivan is obviously involved in that, and there's a few others coming up through the ranks of Kerry Camogie, and you know, it's nice to see. And you know, as Ian has alluded to a few times, it's nice to have that production line coming up of younger players for Kerry Camogie. And you know, the minors, they didn't get their win on the day. They looked like they were going to edge it, but you know, Down ended up drawing it at the end of the day. And you know, it's tough on them having to go all the way up, especially with the way the weather was at the weekend. It was not favourable for most players. But you know, as long as you know there's a production line there, Kerry are going to get the results at minor level and under 14s and you know all those levels. And there is going to be girls coming up because you know there is players in that Kerry senior team that are, I suppose, coming to the end of their careers now, and there is going to need to be players to come in. And Ian is trying to get that commitment levels through all the minors that he has on the panel at the moment. If you look at the team sheet, you can see all the Clamorris girls at the seniors and all the girls who are with Causeway, Killard, etc. They're all going to be your young up and coming talents. So hopefully that the minors can come out the next day and play well. And you know, obviously Ian Amy O'Sullivan is going to be a huge loss if you know she has minor issues with you know going with them and trying to play senior camogie for the Kerry team as well. So hopefully he will have that depth in the squad going forward to take on Derry, and hopefully if they can get something from the Derry game, they'll be playing Laois on the road, and then we'll see what happens from the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play. Well, of course, the Kerry Minors are out this weekend again against Armagh. The Kerry Seniors, of course, out against Derry, looking for two very positive results. And Diarmuid will be back there next week and filling us in both of those for us. Thank you very much, Diarmuid.
No worries, all. Thank you.
And of course, with Diarmuid Kearney, we spoke to him earlier today to get all the news on Kerry Camogie, and fair, they're going very, very well. Now, another Kerry ladies side that were out in action actually at 5 o'clock as well last Saturday were the Kerry senior ladies footballers, and they took on Donegal. It was their last chance to get a quarter-final spot, and here are the highlights thanks to TG Carr.
Shanty Donegal had Vronti, Owen Ellis, Niamh McLaughlin, Slash game all didn't Niamh, Shackle on the park, Moran, Rowan Torrical, didn't Niamh McLaughlin, Fossey game out, Shin clear all the Shastas Boss, Nishtas Boss Tishte, Donegal, because I should Geraldine McLaughlin, Geraldine, Sheerhan, Geraldine, Shanton, Shoy Donegal, didn't go Hall, Niamh McLaughlin, Kusna Broga, Shin Cooley, all in your father, Niamh McLaughlin. Can fád an chéadú Keir Butler and Thompson gets Ivan Chamach didn't go Hall in the Aaron Chunigs Nish the spots and try Kerry Hall Vronti didn't get Dasa Cup because an chéadú should Niamh Carmody Hurling Keane does she Fossey game out Niamh Fossey game out with she fin Pusti the saw Hoodie and Shaw Shin Cooley all in four and chin like Niamh Carmody on kick him up Shanton try Karen Guthrie Canteen stuck in County the Hoshimu Tanchi Gore, agus Abbeydorney Abbeydorney bin an plan Sarvia Geraldine McLaughlin Gary Bruch and Keane ban Tarman Fosa game of Geraldine which on cool I'm shoot Tasha Shin Ailey Stach agus Abbeydorney and Cleach Slachter of Cumla Geraldine McLaughlin.
Yeah, Hog she had and true or Kintag since and Hog she Bert there.
A law park agus he could have Con All-Ireland Camogie Geraldine McLaughlin Taban Chagadas or Con Keir Murphy Geraldine Keane cool like a couple of seconds and Costingir yes past Lavish Tachafada Katie Heron for she cool Tatakata Takul Alefotic agus Raw Hool Tishtig a near second Geraldine McLaughlin go Hurra Flock the Katie Heron agus Hirta she go Hishil Marion the Hain Dinama a Hirto Ishil agus Nuki chance go here Butler Sagul. Yeah, Shach Keane could have moved because he's doing all the time. The start of three up shoot, which the Keane a class scored. Keane could have Flori, Kerry, which had not cooling. I'm sure just a chance to try Louise New York to Gailey. Louise New York take bought Louise New York take. Well, she chance to get that. What she might assassin on. August New York she thought you has to door chance when Chin Rona. What she could call in the hungry. August New York she chance got Eve McCall and Sagul.
Oh, Cade Marcool car.
To go holding Tashin Hannon's last game should tell the was in to hike a button gentle case of Fort Lash Gash Connie which bet basically chance to Kerry everyone see Neve Carmody Lehane tugging Teresa Jenkins Amach Neve Carmody up in Keane Force game of Neve Turshi fi Hul Turshi agus a bot like Neve Carmody will roll the people the conquer tusach at cool robe agus Neve Carmody Hunyashi game off Tuxi fi Hul
Turshi Lear Hoden Sanasma then Lackerkel Lanshier Dinna Bert agus Hugshi kicked Lear Hod.
Fósig Níor McLaughlin is das is boss agus Níor McLaughlin a chuidir das is boss agus cuma mar tá sé grútsa ag dúnaáil sitas in seo dúam agus dáir le ionintach be dúnaáil Harvah sásta níor sé éascas na cinealacha sin.
Well, there you have it. Another great performance from the Kerry Lays, but unfortunately not on the results when they counted, losing out 2-13 to 2-9. It sees them actually in a relegation playoff now against Tipperary. That will take place in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully they can get their stuff in a row again once again and push themselves out of that, because they certainly are a much better team than that at the bottom of that group, and we wish them all the very best luck. Now finally tonight, I suppose it should have been a very exciting weekend for Rathmore, as it was the first time that a Rathmore man managed to lift the cup over his head at a Munster Senior Football or Munster Senior Football final, but unfortunately it's tinged with a small bit of sadness, because while that was happening, the death was being announced of Tony Moynihan, who of course is the vice chairperson of the Rathmore club and a well-known face to everybody in Rathmore. So tonight we will dedicate the final couple of seconds of one Rathmore man raising the Munster Cup over his head to the memory of the late Tony Moynihan of Rathmore.